welcome back. This is Will at Work. I'm Kevin. Today we're going to look at the Nintendo DS. Now we've already looked at the DSi XL, and I do have a DSi that I'll probably show. What I don't own is a DS Lite, which is essentially the very scaled down plastic, lighter version of the Nintendo DS. I might pick one up at some point, maybe just to complete the fact that I have all of the different models of the DS. But, the DS Lite really has no difference compared to the other models. So it's not really one that matters as much. This being the first DS, and this was a very early one because it has this Metroid Prime Hunter's demo that was included. Being that there was no internet option, you got your demos on the unit itself. I will show you what that looked like here in a bit. Now, I know that this particular console was girlfriends of mine, so it's got some skins on it that a girl would use. I had another one, original one, that was my own at the time, of course, but I think I didn't sell it or anything, but I think I may have given it away in sort of a, just a nice thing to do. Be like, hey, I got a new DS, like an XL or whatever, or DSi. I don't need this old DS. You don't have a DS, so here you go. That's the kind of thing I do a lot of. You would think I'd be like, well, maybe I should keep this one and put it in the game collection. And I don't do a lot of that all the time. A lot of times I feel bad for people that, don't have the latest stuff or even a generation behind, and I'm just like, here you go, you can have that. This is something I do. This is sort of looks like a Dooney and Burke type skin thing, and they still sell skins for all sorts of stuff. They sell skins now, they're just stickers really, but they sell skins for the new Xbox series. They sell skins for PlayStation, Switch, lots of controllers, everything you can think of. So, whatever. When we open her up, it's also fairly ugly, but what are you going to do? Now, if you're looking at this and you're like, why didn't you just buy like a pink one or a red one or something? Remember, this is like launch edition. Like, I think there was like 2 colors or something when Nintendo first launched stuff, I almost feel like they make these things all bulbous like this on purpose, with this curved cover and everything, just so they can be like, you want to get the better one that's lighter, and you have sort of the one-dimensional screen. So, this was it, and, this was quite a while ago. So, yeah, it's a little hokey, I guess, but it is a DS. It's just got stickers on it. I'm not going to peel them off. I feel like it's sort of a branding of the time, right? It's just like things that people would do. So, we will plug it in, and while it is probably charging, we will take a quick look at the demo cart that it came with, just to kind of give you an eye of what that was like. So here's the weird and oddly squared charging plug that not all the DS's used. I think it was more like a Game Boy Advance thing. And that's the other thing about the original DS. It did have a Game Boy Advance slot, so you could play Game Boy Advance games on it. So it was, compatible with DS, and it was a nice upgrade for Game Boy Advance. And as far as I recall, other than like, certain things that use like the Game Boy Advance printer and things like that, I'm pretty sure it's like 100% compatible with everything else. I'll put Mother 3 in there just to, we can take a look at it. And then I wanted to show you, so the demo game came in this cardboard slip, right? Metroid Prime Hunter's Last Hunt. And it would come, with a game plastic and a manual. And it's weird, because Metroid is a popular brand, and this would surely sell to most kids anyway that were buying a DS, that were interested in Metroid. And it was nice of them to include a demo in the system. But you wonder to yourself, like, the costs on this They could have just put in like a pack-in game, you know, and had a full game rather than just this demo. But we'll take a look at it. There we go. You know, and it has the stylus as well, because the base is touchscreen, and the top is not. And you know, when these first came out, which was like in the dawn of when we first started doing video game news in 2004. In fact, I think probably there's a date or something on here. Usually these things are dated somewhere. Maybe not this one. Well, anyway. There we go. Blurry. Come on. There you go. 2004, which is when VGN started up. So, yeah. When these came out, I was always like, you know, why would you have this two-screen thing? I mean, it seems silly to me. And, you know, you could sit there and argue with yourself and say, like, you know, if you took this part out here, you'd have a system that was, you know, yay wide, which wasn't that big. So the idea that you flip this over and it makes it smaller, I mean, no one's putting this in their pocket, really. I mean, you know what I mean? They call it, you know, it's pocket size. And you can. I'm not saying that, but I mean, it's just like, you're not carrying this around all day like this. I mean, it's just silly. So Nintendo, you know, really what they were doing here is these screens were cheap, right? You had this sort of mass manufacturing going on for Game Boy Advance screens, and this aspect ratio, and developers working, you know, in this sort of squared, you know, view rather than the longer rectangular view, and they didn't use a capacitive touch like most smartphones. This was more of a compression. See how it's kind of warping when I'm touching it? Because the top layer touches the bottom layer and creates the contact necessary for the screen to give you that touch. It's not as accurate, but it worked for a game system, although a lot of kids really scratched that thing up playing games on it, where they probably would have done a little bit better with a capacitive screen. You know, it was just it was, as usual with Nintendo, it was a cost factor. They're always trying to keep the costs down, and you know, it works for them. They're still in business. There's a lot of video game companies that aren't, and you know, the DS was a huge seller, so it wasn't like it hurt them at all. I think that it's just it was just unusual because you're still powering two screens. You're still using, you know, a significant battery to backlight both screens. Why not just have the one screen, right? There's really not that much of an advantage to the two, other than cost. And you know, it worked. It's novel. You know, it's just really unusual. So let's try turning it on. Will it work? Maybe it won't. We have a volume slider. I'm not getting any lights out of this. Seems to be correct. Nope, it went orange there for a second. Watch. Here it is. Okay, let's just hold it down. I think what happens is that it needs to get the battery charged up to a point where it can turn itself on, and we are not there yet. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let this sit, and we'll let this try and charge, and we'll come back here in about 15 minutes, and we'll see if we can get it going. It probably does work, but it may be a case where this is so old and it hasn't been running in so long that the battery has failed. Not unusual because I have PSPs. I've even have Vita batteries that have gone kaput. So it's quite possible that the battery in here is fried and it needs a new one. But that would require some mail order. So let's just check it in 15 minutes and see what we get. Be right back. And here we are. Before you begin, you must adjust system settings. Please touch the touch screen or press any button. Guess I gotta get this stylus out. Enter your nickname. I mean, if this battery's dead, it's pointless, right? B-A-Z today. Confirm. Username saved. Whatever. Confirm. Will be blue. It is the beginning of the year 2000, even though the system came out in 2004. It is also midnight. It is the for New Year's. It's New Year's Eve. It's New Year's Day. Everybody just screamed Happy New Year on the Millennium, and we'll restart the system. Try to keep this down here so you can see both screens. Okay, so we have the Metroid Prime First Hunt Game Boy Advance game. You have Picto Chat, just like a way of chatting. And yeah, DS download and play. I think this had a thing in it at one time where you could share games with other DS owners by sending them to each other. And I don't know how well that was adapted. Maybe in the beginning it was. Let's look at Metroid Prime Hunters. See, if it was one screen, she would have been connected. But no, you got this bezel in the middle and this hinge. So bizarre. Bizarre choices. Guess all we can do is training and multiplayer with the demo. Morph ball. Oh, that's right. This is like movement on the right, and then you had to like do something here to fire. Forget what it is. Oh yeah, it's the bumpers. Whoop. Sorry, everybody. It's hard to do like 10 things at once here. Yeah, so you could move, but you can't turn. You're constantly strafing. How do I turn? Is it with these? No. Is it with this? Yeah. So you gotta use like the stylus to turn, dragging it across the screen. You use your left hand in a very cramped, if you can see my thumb, a very cramped position in order to hold the unit up, because your other hand is pushing down on it, and then on your right side you've got to activate the trigger in order to make this all work. So it's super freaking uncomfortable to play this game. It does work good, though. I mean, I will say that it, like, the turning and everything with the stylus is really smooth, and being able to look around. They did a nice job on that. It's just that, man, this is not easy to play, because it's so, certainly like a D-pad would have helped everybody involved, Nintendo. But, this looks pretty good, and, this is what people, first experienced when they got the DS, and, it's much improved experience to where we were with the Game Boy Advance, and, yeah, they start you off with a first-person shooter of sorts, and, nice job, Nintendo. Controls suck, but, they do work, and that's probably the most important thing. And I'm sure there's people out there be like, I got it to work just fine. You just don't know what you're doing, which is always what you find on the internet. So anyway, Nintendo DS, fully functional. Let's look at just really quick the Game Boy Advance compatibility. Let's see if it runs this Mother 3 cart. Yeah, and if I recall, I think there was something where you could swap screens, but in general, you only got to use one screen or the other because it wasn't designed for more than one screen. Fan translation. This is just the cartridge I have handy. I don't have a whole bunch of Game Boy Advance carts, but could get a multi-cart, I guess, at this point. I'm not really playing a lot of DS in my life right now. Yeah, anyway, we're not going to go through all this. It looks like it works fine. So, DS system. Pretty cool. I got a fair amount of use out of it. It was interesting with this, particular with the launch of this. It was sort of it did okay, right? It's Nintendo, new system, DS, kids wanted it, but I don't think it had the same sort of fanfare that the Game Boy Advance had initially, because the game selection was pretty limited. People wanted Mario Kart. It wasn't out at that time for it. You came, Super Mario Land was around, but that's always kind of a mixed bag with people. There's people that love those Mario games, but then there's a lot of people that don't want the platform games anymore at that time when this was coming out, because platform games were kind of at that time, there was so many of them that people were just burned out on them. It had a resurgence later that Nintendo keeps going, but it didn't. At that time, like when this launched, it wasn't the most popular thing to have a platform title. So, in so doing, Nintendo didn't have a lot of launch titles, but they had the Game Boy Advance compatibility, but that wasn't enough to get people to abandon their Game Boy Advance SPs when this launched. So then Nintendo released a game called Nintendo Pets or something, and it was just like a Tamagotchi kind of like you took care of like a dog, like you would pick out like a dog. I think it was just a dog at the time. I think later they made more where you'd take care of cats and stuff, but you would get like a dog, and every day you would just like kind of take care of your dog, with the unit. And I don't know, man, it was super popular with kids. That's what kids liked. And so, they did a good job. Let's see if this battery is actually... Yep, battery still holds a charge. Quality stuff, Nintendo. Certainly not going to charge it all the way up or anything. We'll just let it go. But yeah, Nintendogs. And then, of course, then they eventually got the... Mario Kart and everything else under the sun. Metroid came out for it, and that was a big deal, and lots and lots and lots of other games, and Final Fantasy Tactics, and you get all your RPGs and everything, your Fire Emblems, and You know, just an all-around super popular game system. Oh, I can't get the power adapter in here because it doesn't want to be spooled together like that and still go in the box. Jeez, how does this go in the box? It's too big to go in that way. It's kind of bulbous, this thing. I don't think that's right. Let's do this. Let's close that up. The mystery of the box. Is this end open? It's a bit more. Is that for this? It's one of these things. I don't know. It's really weird. Maybe it didn't come with this. Is this like aftermarket? This is Nintendo on it. Did it come with a charger? Includes, yeah, it comes with the AC adapter. Okay, I'm not losing my mind here. Yeah, it came with the demo disc. That's what's in there. How the hell does this go in the box? It must go in, like this says 2, and I feel like, you know, it goes in here somehow. But that doesn't fit. It doesn't fit anywhere here. It doesn't fit there. It doesn't fit that way. So I don't think that is the right side. If we were closer on this side. But it's too bulbous to go here. And it's, you know, it almost fits this way, but not really. But I guess that's just going to have to be how it is. I'll just shove all these cords in there. I tell you, I have more boxes for game systems than I do game systems because I've given so many game systems away, and I always thought to myself, I probably threw the box out, so here's just the game system, you know, put it in a cardboard box or whatever, and then I end up finding the cardboard boxes. Like, I have a whole bunch of 360 boxes. It's ridiculous. All right, well, anyway, thanks for watching Nintendo DS. We'll definitely be looking at the 3DS and probably just the regular DSi and 3DS XL. So we'll get the whole gamut, and of course we'll get to the Switch eventually. All right, thanks for watching.